Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. So in making a video about my Romanceathon wrap up, I kind of went on a ramble, not really a rant, a ramble about the buddy read, which was If I Never Met You by Mhairi McFarlane. Farlane? And so I realized that when I was editing that I didn't need to leave in this like 6-7 minute kind of ramble, and I decided that it would be good to make that its own review. So that's what this video is. The lighting's a little different. This is sort of later Laura popping in to talk about the book. So without further ado, here's me discussing If I Never Met You. So what did I actually read and manage to finish for Romanceathon? It was just 2 books. So I did finish If I Never Met You, and I definitely pronounced this author's name incorrectly in my previous videos. It says in the back that her first name is pronounced Mhairi. I think she's Scottish or something. So Mhairi McFarlane, I finished her book, which was the buddy read book for Romanceathon. I didn't really like this book. I'm kind of surprised to see so many 3.5 to 4-star reviews on Goodreads. There was nothing like wrong with it. I don't know. It was all about like a presentation thing, really. I went into it thinking this is going to be a rom-com. It's light, it's funny, it's fake dating, trope. I'm all for that. It's one of my favorite tropes. But this is really a lot more of like a women's fiction story. There is romance, but I honestly didn't feel like the romance was done very well. In super brief summary, the book is about Lori and Dan, and they've been together for 18 years, half their lives. They're both 36. Lori comes home one night and Dan is like, yeah, sorry, this isn't like working for me. Like, I don't know if I want kids. I don't want to be in a relationship anymore. And she feels completely blindsided, rightly so. And he leaves. And then it's like 10 weeks or so later, he comes to her and says, hey, I'm seeing someone. It's sort of serious because she's pregnant with my baby. And of course, Lori is, again, like totally thrown for a loop. Like, she doesn't believe him that they weren't having an affair before he broke it off with her. And so the plot of the book is Lori is like heartbroken, and she kind of wants to make Dan feel bad about what he has done to her. So when Jamie, a coworker, suggests that the two of them pretend to be in a relationship for their mutual benefit, she will be able to like make Dan, oh my gosh, I don't know why I keep calling him Jan, make Dan jealous and kind of rub it in his face that she's like moved on to this like young, hot playboy kind of guy. And Jamie will show the bosses that he like is not a playboy and that he can do serious relationships. So that's the plot of the book, and I felt like as a pro that the author did a really good job focusing on the breakup and not just like making light of it. I mean, this was something that Lori and Dan were together, for 18 years. It's not something that Lori was just going to get over. I thought that all of that was handled really well. Lori does a lot of sort of self-doubt and questioning about why the relationship broke up. What, could she have done differently? What has changed about her? I felt like all of those were really valid emotions for Lori to go through, and were done really well, on page. The problem is that like that takes a really long time, and that's fine, and it's probably really true to life, and it would have maybe not endeared Lori's character to us for her to be like, boo-hoo, my relationship, ooh, hot guy, and just to be like seem so fickle. But there are a lot of other subplots that are happening. Like, Lori has really great friendship with her best friend Emily, who's an awesome character, but like Emily kind of has a moment where she needs her best friend in Lori, and Lori is also sort of struggling with her parents' relationship to each other and her relationship with each of her parents. And so there's a lot going on in the book where she's like trying to kind of go through this rough patch in her life. And she also has this element of this fake relationship she's trying to do with Jamie. And she does kind of realize at one point that, like, you know, yeah, he has been very cut and dry about what he's going to get out of this fake relationship, aka a promotion or not. But her name is sort of the one that's being dragged in the mud, and she's the one whose reputation is sort of suffering in this fake relationship. And so ultimately, I mean, this is a romance, and so they, you know, she and Jamie get together in the end, and it's true love. But like, I didn't feel like that relationship was built up enough. Other fake dating trope books that I've read, there's also an element of like forced proximity. There's also an element of like forced fake intimacy, you know, like someone hires somebody to like attend a family reunion. Or there's a lot more instances of like needing to be, you know, fake, you know, holding hands or kisses or like arms around shoulders. They're in situations where they're having to act. And in this book, like Jamie and Lori, they set up these dates, and that's an opportunity for the two of them to get to know each other, but they're not like real dates. They're just kind of carefully posed pictures and do most of that work on social media. And so it really didn't feel to me like Lori was considering Jamie as a romantic interest until practically the time that he declares his love for her. I just felt like we needed to have more time focused on the two of them falling for each other, and Lori was so busy still getting over Dan and working through her feelings about her dad and, you know, kind of her mom too, and like helping her best friend. And, you know, she kind of helps Jamie out, and there is a forced proximity where he, you know, she has to go meet his parents, but like it just was kind of flat for me. I felt like they were laying a good there was a good foundation for a friendship, but like she feels a little blindsided when he says that he loves her, but at the same time she's like, well, good, because I love you too. And I'm like, really? Have you thought about Jamie other than how handsome he is for like any length of time? No, like not from my perspective. So ultimately, I didn't really love If I Never Met You. I would probably only give it like 2.5 stars. It was well written. I did like the things that I already kind of mentioned, but as a romance and as a rom-com, it really fell flat for me. So if this had been pitched to me as a women's fiction book, as a, you know, journey of self-discovery, maybe I would have gone into it a little differently. I don't know. It was also like kind of long. Maybe it'd have been a little bit shorter. I'm not sure that we could have had so much enjoyment of Lori's character and her character arc, which she, you know, kind of grows a lot. But for me, it wasn't a good romance book. Discussing If I Never Met You. So if you have anything to say about that review and how I totally got things wrong, or you really agree, or if you gave it a 5-star, like, I want to know why. So comment down below, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.